Welcome to Campfire Wisdom. Grab a seat around the fire and tell us your story.
All right, so we are now live. Woohoo!
All right.
Oh shit! It just cleaned up. The video just cleaned up real. That's awesome. It's actually if you think about it, if you look at your background, it's actually pretty interesting. You got this fucking cooler on the side. You got like what looks like a fucking laboratory in the back with like a desk. It's actually kind of.
What's this room for? What does this person do in this room?
Yeah, no. Yeah, exactly. You know, it's funny. It looks like you'd be like one of those gun psychos if you're just looking at like the picture. You're like, let me show you how to thread a barrel.
Yeah, right.
Dude, that beer's getting thick, dude.
Yeah, it is.
Like it. That's cool.
It's more of like a ZZ Top beard, all wiry and mangy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, dude, thanks for being patient. That was a fucking bitch to get this all set up. Jesus.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
And I would have to do that with the other computer and get all the levels, and I probably would have scared the audience with the volume of the microphone and everything. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's just kind of nice because everything's built in on the Apple side of things, you know?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Sell my soul to the devil.
Exactly. Well, you know, I was going to ask you, and I may, do you ever listen to the podcast that I've been working on?
I have not listened to them, actually.
It's all right.
I talked to Simon, and he was saying he was digging them and stuff. He's like, have you listened to them? I'm like, nope, I haven't listened to my own brother's podcast.
That's funny.
Sorry, G.
It's all right, man. I know you're busy. I know you got things you're up to, so no big deal. But, well, part of I'll give you a little contextual thing about why I wanted to kind of talk to you. But
yeah,
obviously, growing up, we were a pretty active family as far as doing stuff outdoors. You know, we had our motorhome and all that kind of stuff. And I just have a ton of good memories with that. And so I was just kind of just tracing back some of the cool stories from the past, but then also just wanted to get people who shared that with me and kind of get their opinion about being outside and what it does for you and if it's something that's important to you or whatnot. So,
yeah.
You remember any cool stories from the past?
Oh, yeah, of course, man. I think my earliest memories were probably Gardner Canyon.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it was very vague, but I remember, we'd pull up in the motorhome, find a spot, and then you had the canyon wall, so that was where we got to shoot our first guns and stuff like that. And that's where I shot 357 for the first time, and that was pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, Dad's fucking boomer. He's got a Ruger Security 6.
Yeah, and then it was just cool, man. I guess at that point maybe it's glamping or whatever the word for it is because you got a motorhome. So it's at that age I was the youngest, so I think I was a little timid about tenting. You guys I think spent a couple nights wanting to just rough it, and I was like, nah, I think I'll chill in my bunk, my sleeping bag, and so I took that route. But that's my earliest memory of camping, probably. And then of course Lake Powell, that's like camping on the lake. That was always cool. Yes, we had the motorhome at that time, but I remember just sleeping out on like a beach fold-out chair. You get the sleeping bag and a pillow, and you just kind of fall asleep to the stars, and then the water kind of brushing up against the sand and stuff. So that was always good sleeping,
Yeah, man, I remember those days, and then the sun would wake you up because it'd be roasting you, and you'd like cover your face with your sleeping bag as long as you could endure it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I guess the excitement too was like it's amazing that we slept through the night because there was always like partying down to the left, or partying down to the right because it was such a busy beach. But at some point, it reached a peaceful tone where you got to kind of just really soak it all up, and the stars were just amazing out there. That's what I remember.
Yeah, man, that you could see they're fucking endless, and there was no light pollution.
Yeah,
yeah.
You could get like the sense of like a galaxy almost,
Totally. Yeah, remember we would walk like sometimes back into the sand away from the motorhomes and everything and just kind of see the stars even better. Because sometimes even that little bit of light pollution from the motorhomes and everything was just a lot when people were still up before everyone passed out.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember the like Gardner Canyon was such like that was like the go-to place because I went there a lot as Boy Scouts with our like troop, and I remember they would literally drop us off at the entrance and we'd have to hike our backs in as far as like getting like a workout and shit.
Well, I think that whole area is kind of popular for hunters too. It's kind of like a base camp as well, like if I remember right, I thought.
No, you're right. Actually, they hunt deer, javelina, and mountain lion, all that stuff there. I think.
Right. So
yeah. Well, I know. Go ahead.
I was just saying I was just a little naive as to what was going on because I was so young, but those are my early memories. Usually, the majority of my camping has always been kind of, desert or high desert. So the times I've gotten to be in the forest, those are even more relief.
Yeah, what'd you think? Because we went to Yosemite a couple years back.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah,
it's probably one of my favorite places I've been. Just the trees and the light coming through. It's like studio lighting in the forest. It's this really elegant light peering through on the rocks and everything. It made like every little inch of the area seem like it was planned and framed and all this stuff. So
yeah, there's something to be said about like Yosemite is like just that destination, that place where you go where it's just like you're expecting like magical things to happen because it has this mystery to it. It has this allure. Obviously, it's hard to get a spot in there sometimes, but when you go there, it delivers. That's what's crazy. It's like it still calls me back. It's like, oh man, I got to try to find another time when I can go back.
Yeah. It's definitely worth it. I know it's one of the popular spots, but so you have to deal with some of the crowds, but everyone's kind of there for the same purpose, to see it for the first time.
Yeah, you know what you would enjoy Zion, dude. Next time we go to like one of those parks, we should. I went to Zion for Geese's birthday last year, and it was amazing, dude. They have like it's red rock. It's got like that desert feel to it, but then it's got a river that runs through it, and then mountain lion. I'm sorry, not mountain lion. Mountain.
I'm there, man.
Yeah.
Give me the mountain lion.
Bighorn sheep. That's what I meant to say. But what is like? I know it's not like you're this person that camps all the time and whatnot, but what is it? Growing up like that, does it ever call to you? Do you ever want to seek it out or?
Oh yeah, definitely. I just, I kind of depend on other people wanting to pull me to it. I think, when I was as a kid growing up in my teens, obviously you're so busy with school and all that stuff. And even after that, but I probably just didn't have those people in my life or wasn't close to them. I lived in Phoenix and I didn't have a lot of outdoor friends, for 5 to 7 years out there. So once I came back to Tucson, that was when, I had more friends pulling me out that way, Of course, I did it in high school and stuff, but, and even being out in California with you, that was, I was always being pulled to do it there. So I think normally I don't necessarily seek it out, but I have that instilled in me at a young age, growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was about being outside. So, you had a better sense of finding adventure without, a lot of technology, so it's like you had that vocabulary or that knowledge of existing out of nowhere and just coming up with fun things to do and thinking creatively without anything on you,
Yeah, then
there's a tree and loose branches. All right, cool. Next time we come out here, we'll bring a hammer and some nails, and we'll build a ladder up to the tree, and we'll build a fort. Or let's go see where this wash leads. That was a big thing out in Arizona, was just following the wash down, and that was probably it's like you were teaching yourself how the water system, the water flowed, and where everything fed and all the tributaries and stuff. So you didn't you kind of take that for granted. No one really sat down and told me that stuff. You just lived it.
Yeah. It's funny because you hit on the head of what it does for me and why it's so satisfying. It's like you literally get away from all the bullshit and you are forced to you're forced to take a step back, but in the best possible way to really just be who you are without being bombarded with information, being bombarded with oh, let's do this, let's do that. It's just what's there, and being in the moment is there's no better way to actually be in the moment than to actually be outdoors where there's no other things distracting you, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're in the city, you're following a certain pattern. You're fed a direction. You're fed expectation, and you're fed ideas of what other people did before you. And when you're out camping, or when you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's nobody else around, you learn a lot about yourself. But getting there is the hard part.
Yeah,
I think
true.
I think most people will find something within themselves, even if they're the most boarded up, hardworking business city person there is. When they get out there, they'll still find a piece of themselves. And you hear that all the time. About people experiencing new places for the first time. But yeah,
Yeah, it's funny is that's kind of where like the conversation has gone on the podcast here. It's about getting people to at least experiment, to get out, even talking to the people at work or friends and whatnot. It's oh, I couldn't go, sorry, I had this to do. But it's once you get out there, it's there's just that immediate moment. You're oh, I'm so glad I came. It's I can't even tell you, everybody who maybe had a challenge getting out there or had to make some sacrifices or whatever, it's always oh, I'm so glad I came. I'm glad to be here. It's so relaxing. It's that's kind of where I'm trying to focus. How can I make this easier for people to just fucking do it?
yeah, yeah. Well, I think a part of it too is maybe they never had it when they were younger. They didn't have a parent or someone that took them out, so they're even more handicapped as to what it would be like. It's it's 2018. There's a lot of advancements in gear and all that stuff that make it way more enjoyable. When I was younger, Dad, if we went just a day backpacking, I'd go out with way too much gear. I'd probably be hauling 30 pounds of food and water on my back.
Exactly.
I don't need all this stuff, but it was preparation. Now everything is lighter and bags are more comfortable and efficient, and tents and padding and just everything is so streamlined now that it's way more doable,
Mhm.
especially at your comfort level.
Yeah.
That's what I notice. I've heard the argument too that I don't want to go out there. I'd rather be sleeping in my bed. And I'm honestly, sometimes I get the best sleep of my life when I'm in a tent. It's so quiet. I go to bed naturally at a more reasonable time because I've been active for the whole day, and I wake up to the sun. Sometimes I'm up before the damn birds. That's saying something right there. So
Yeah, man. That's funny. You hit it on the head. That's my favorite part, dude. Being in the tent there, when I'm in my bag and I'm just looking at the roof of my tent and there's this deep relaxation. It's I exhale every pressure that I have and I sleep like a fucking champ.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
So I
amazing.
think there's just a lot of misconception about it all. And I mean, let's be honest. I haven't really rusted in a lot of spots, but um, no matter what you're doing when you're out camping, going to bed that night is such an excitement too, because you have put a lot of work into that day, and uh, it's just like you're ready to test the bed and to kind of enter that supreme silence, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the fruit of your labors. You got through the day, you built your tent, you built your sleeping place. Now, like you're gonna lay in your throne and go to bed. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's another part of the excitement too, is just finding a spot to camp. I think
yeah.
about the word camping. Like, what does that actually mean? Like, why is the word camping? What does it really entail? Like, I guess it was where people are. If you go back to before we had a lot of organized civilization, it was where people just kind of chose to be home. That was their safe spot. That was their home. This is where we're gonna settle down because it makes sense, and it's like a natural instinct to, this is where we're gonna settle and be safe. Um, so it's like you're setting up your home when you go out in the middle of nowhere, and there's all this potential threat. If you're in a more place with a lot of wildlife and trees and less visibility and more dangers, but it it's like you're setting up a fresh start, like a new civilization, even if it's for like a week or whatever long you're staying. So
Yeah, that's true. There's like almost like an explorer spirit to it. There's like a bit of the adventurer that even knowing that your home is, a couple hundred miles away, there's still most people are not going to choose to leave their home because they've been building their home. So when you're away, it's like you're a pioneer in some ways.
yeah, yeah. I mean, uh, it's definitely maybe more imaginative, but it feels that excitement.
Oh, for me, totally, man. That's why I like to like be prepared and have my gear because just in case something happens, it's like, well, I'm out here, I'm out in the wild, in the wilderness. Anything could happen. Chances are it's not going to happen, but it at home, it's for sure not going to happen. But when you're out and about, there's that adventure of what could be possibility. And you're right, having an overactive imagination, there's definitely something to be said about being outdoors. Obviously, I'm not willing something to happen crazy, but I do
No,
want to see the animals. I do want to see the meteor shower to see like I would love to see a fucking tree fall. I would
yeah,
love to see like an actual tree fall and hear the sound of what that makes?
right, right, yeah,
Wouldn't that be crazy? Like a huge fucking tree, see it.
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever experienced that. I don't think I've been to enough forest environments, you know. But
Yeah, geese and I were up at Big Bear and they were cutting a tree in this marketplace. And so they had stripped the tree of all of its branches. And he was cutting a segment that was about 10 feet. Keep in mind, this tree is about 60 feet tall, but he was cutting a 10-foot segment of the trunk. And then guys on the ground pulled it down as he cut it. And just that 10-foot segment, when it hit the ground, it landed on a pile of the branches that had already been on the ground.
oh yeah,
It made like this, it wasn't a loud noise, but there was a shockwave of like wind. And we were behind a fenced area. And then like it was not even, it was probably like maybe 40 feet from us. And there was a wooden fence and then two buildings in between us. So it kind of funneled the force, but it wasn't like wind or anything, but it was just like the shockwave of sound. It was fucking awesome. So
yeah, yeah,
imagine if it was a whole ass tree with the fucking all the branches. It would be amazing.
yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, dude, what's right now? Like, do you have any plans to camp or do camping or like where's your gear status at? What's what kind of camping gear do you have? What's the essentials?
Me, I'm just you travel by car and we just park it, but I come with just a tent and pads and the basic silverware and my little iron skillet, probably for cooking over the the fire, and I'm not a super roughing camper.
Yeah.
I'm a kind of a city kid that likes to get out, so it's I don't do a lot of backpacking though, but
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of that. I think I'd like to do more of it, but I just don't know destination wise. Like, I don't have a pack. It requires more. You have to spend more to do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just like to find a spot, and if anything, you hit local trails or trails close by, or go check out the rock formations over there, or go down the valley in there,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like I just like being around the peacefulness and the quiet and the fire at night, and I like the silence. Been a couple times where people bring like a radio, and I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like I don't want to. I
I
don't want.
know. I know.
I don't want to hear. I don't mind like someone bringing a guitar, or but I prefer no technology, if you will.
Yeah. What is it about that? Because I feel the same way. It's like I've brought my speaker several times, but I've like got it out and listened to a few things if I'm working building the camp, but then I'm like, this seems like corrupting, and then I put it away.
Right.
And at the same time, if I'm camping with someone who wants to fucking play music all night, I'm like, okay, I gotta say something. Hey, do you mind if we turn that off a little bit? It'd be nice
Yeah, I
just
think
to,
it's kind of disrespectful because for the most part, you don't hear other people doing it.
Yeah, I know.
Unless you're at like a really popular destination, but even that I think is kind of frowned upon.
Yeah.
There's been a couple times where you hear like someone's generator. Oh my god, that's maddening. I mean, that's
Yeah.
I think I heard that at Yosemite one night, and but for the most part, people understand why they're there. Otherwise,
Yeah, I
they
think
would.
so.
Otherwise, they wouldn't go there. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well,
obviously, if I'm camping, I prefer not to be near anyone.
yeah, I told you that story, but well, I've told it a million times with those dudes with the fucking speed metal that were playing that music. It was like, that same place where you and I and Alex camped, where we had to go 4-wheel drive, and the deer like scared the shit out of us in the middle of the night.
Oh yeah, that's where we had to drive across that crazy rock fall.
Yeah. Well, the second time we went there, we found some dudes that were all like, they got wasted and played like speed metal till like 4 a.m. It was
Oh
brutal.
yeah, there was a lot of hunters out when we left. All of them
Yeah.
were rolling in that first time we went.
Yeah, that's true.
They were all in their orange gear and all that stuff. So
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Like, so you have a sleeping bag, right?
yeah,
Do you have a tent?
I have a tent, and then I have like a little collapsible pillow that folds up that you blow up, and then a pad which you also blow up, which rolls up to like the size of like a half a loaf of bread.
Okay. Yeah, so you got everything. That's kind of your basic kit right there. Sleeping bag, pad, pillow,
Yeah,
and
I'm
tent.
in the Southwest, so nothing's really that cold, and unless I generally camp in reasonable temperatures, so that's me.
Yeah. Well, what would you say to someone who's thinking about trying to like camp, but they're being pussies about it? What's your word of wisdom going out?
I'd say you're missing out, because I don't camp all the time, every month or every other weekend or whatever, And at times, I think I might have been reluctant too to rough it, but it's definitely worth it. I don't know that even if I described the sensations I get, like the peace of mind I get, um, I would say just think about what you do to find peace in your life in the city of complete solitude, or um, maybe some people meditate or do yoga, but I mean that is a very I guess spiritual experience, but the same thing exists just by being out in nowhere where there is nobody, And I think that it's it's just natural, you know. You don't really get to know yourself until you're put in a, a quiet place with, especially if you are not prepared, you're not going to have a whole lot to do. So it's like you're going to be forced to just kind of soak it up, you know. I think some people maybe they just don't have it in them, but I'd like to think that they, no matter what, they would find some kind of moment of, you know, hearing the wind, or um, or the trees, or the wildlife out there that's gonna put things in perspective for them. You know, and
Yeah.
no matter what, you'll come back with a kind of refreshed feeling, regardless. Even if you didn't like it going into it, you at least did it and tried it out. You know, it's challenging. You know, you challenge yourself. So get your ass out there. You know, go for a
Yeah.
hike. You know,
Yeah, exactly. Go for a hike. Take a hike.
but yeah,
One thing I haven't asked you is, being that you're into art and being creative and all that kind of stuff, like, have you ever like gone outdoors and like painted or stuff like that, or are you more along the lines of just observing it and like being in the moment and engaging with it?
no, I like to. I bring sketching stuff with me all the time. Really, you know,
Oh, okay.
usually just pencils, or colored pencils, stuff like that. Um, but absolutely, especially if you're, I guess the artist term is en plein air, you know, which is how what they did, you know, the back in the day was the term for it, which was meant painting out in the open, painting in the open air, you know. It's where that's where painting began, you know. People were painting outdoors, cave paintings, all that stuff. They were the early artists.
Yeah, I never thought about that. You're right. Painting outdoors. What did you say? In plain air?
Yeah, en plein air.
In plain air.
I'm not French, but it literally looks on text. I think it's ENPLEINAIR, 3 words. So,
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
but yeah, I don't know that you can really. It's hard to put into words to that. This is what they're going to get out of it just by being out there, but they just have to be there because it's just about putting your body there and experiencing it,
Yeah. It's
letting your senses take over. It's not about conversation, and it's not about you know um, trying to verbalize what's going on. It's about living it. You know.
yeah, I agree. And it's hard because if everyone just experienced that for themselves and just got out more often, I think it would be a much better place because I think we would appreciate our surroundings better. We would appreciate each other's contribution to whatever that is. Even if it's on a site like, hey, I'm going to cook food. Great. I'm going to clean up the trash. Oh, awesome. I'm going to build the fire. It's like there's duties and tasks that you do together. That's like that community thing, that community feeling. And it's just like you would appreciate nature, each other, and just the joy that is being disconnected. I think that's something that's lost these days. No one rarely is ever truly disconnected, and that's definitely something that I personally seek out, and I think is something that's really satisfying when you literally are unplugged completely.
Yeah, it definitely is a personality checker for people in your life, or people, when you're out with them, how do they respond working with you or being around you, when you're left to just kind of soak up the peace, like who are they really? Can they actually handle this? Are they totally uncomfortable and they can't live without their things,
Yeah. Well, dude, thanks so much for taking the time to sit down and chat with me, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it. I'll also extend you an invitation. So May 18th, 19th, and 20th, I've reserved 2 campsites up at McGill Campground, which is a very foresty, awesome, cool place. And I think a lot of the homies are going to go. I think a lot of people from my work are going to go. So
You
if
said
you,
May or what?
May, yeah, May
Okay.
18th, 19th, and 20th.
Cool, yeah.
So you should come out because I'm trying to make it a big event and actually uh, try to encourage those people who maybe have not like stepped outdoors to like, hey, come on, I'll be there. I'll help you make the journey comfortable, and you can hopefully experience what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not a professional, so I don't want people to be confused, but I know what it's done for me just on a really basic level. I mean, hopefully someone has gone for at least for a hike in their life, to know what that did for them. Um, but being forced to be out there for a couple days is even more interesting, if you ask me. You know, to see the beginning of the day and this and then the end of the day, and then to do it all over again. To know that you're not going to go home to the comforts of your home. You're going to have to just find some happiness out there.
Amen, brother.
You don't have to search hard, that's for sure.
Amen. Well, dude, you get the last word. You want to say anything?
I want to say, get your ass out there. Go get away from the city, because the city will drive you crazy. Get down to your roots. Get down to the nature of your existence, and then you can come back to the city and hopefully make a little more sense of it all. Find some peace. That's it. Peace out.
Campfire Wisdom is brought to you from the hills of Rancho, Cucamonga. We'd like to thank the men and women that protect our national parks and forests. You make this journey possible. Theme music by Sean Cromwell.